Welcome to episode 177 of Sports Geek. On this week's episode, I go back to the future, chatting with my very first guest, now at the Kansas City Chiefs, James Royer.
Welcome to Sports Geek, the podcast built for sports digital and sports business professionals. And now, here's your host who thinks sports leagues will launch cryptocurrencies in the next 2 years, Sean Callanan.
Thanks, DJ Joel. Yes, my name is Sean Callanan, and you are listening to Sports Geek. And yes, in this current area of crypto mania, I do actually think sports teams or leagues, most likely leagues, will launch some form of a cryptocurrency. And I think when I asked DJ Joel to say, as I said, 2 years, it could actually be sometime in 2018. We are currently going through, if you're listening to this, as soon as it's released, prior to Christmas in 2017, we're currently going through what can only be termed as crypto mania, with the price of Bitcoin and other alternate coins rising dramatically. Is it a bubble? Is it not a bubble? Are people trying to get on? I think it's a fascinating space. I do think I think a lot of this is getting missed, and I'm not going to put my hand up as a crypto expert, but I do think the blockchain and the technology behind it will have some advantages, and could things like a cryptocurrency that might offer micropayments for content, that might be somewhere that sports head. And to think only 20 episodes ago, on episode 157, I caught up with Raoul Sood from Unicorn. And they've since now gone through their initial coin offering, and it was a really good introduction. At least I found it. That's why I wanted to talk to Raoul on crypto and how it could be used. So, yeah, you could be seeing things like your season ticket or your membership have loaded cryptocurrency, that kind of thing, that loaded value piece. So, yeah, it's an interesting space. I'll check my crypto profile before this podcast, and it'll be one number. I'll check it after this podcast. It'll be a different number. So, yeah, don't take my enthusiasm for the space as advice. Go in eyes wide open. It could be worth nothing by the time you listen to this podcast, or it could be worth thousands and thousands of dollars. So, yes, I wanted to catch up with James Royer, my guest on this episode. For those of you who have been listening from the beginning, from episode 1, James was actually my first guest back when it was a different format. So previously I would interview my guests on ABC Grandstand with Francis Leach, and then bring those interviews and put them into the podcast. And so James was the first guest in that format. So he was previously at the Tampa Bay Lightning, and now he is at the Kansas City Chiefs. So we caught up to discuss some of the things they've been doing in the social space around engagement and growth and different types and tactics. So if you're in the execution space for social, it's a really good listen. And then also talking about some of the stuff they're doing in ticketing and augmented reality and developing audiences. So I hope you enjoy the return visit of James Royer. Very happy to catch up once again with the person that was the first guest on the Sports Geek podcast way back on May 9, 2013. He is now with the Kansas City Chiefs, Director of Digital Media and Strategy. James Royer, welcome back to the podcast.
Sean, it is great to hear your voice again and be talking to you and not listen to your podcast. And it's been a little too long, isn't it?
It has been too long. So for the people that have been listening to from the beginning, thank you very much. So I think that the first formation of the podcast was when I was doing interviews with Francis Leach on ABC Grandstand on an early Saturday morning, and I was catching up with people, and your interview that we did there formed part of the first show. And at that time, you were at Tampa Bay at the Lightning, and we talked about Bolt Social and everything you were doing there. And since that time, we want to catch up. It has been too long. I'm happy to have return guests. I might put an Aussie flavour and call them boomerang guests that come back. Tell us what you've been doing and tell us what you've learned so far moving to the NFL and Kansas City.
Yeah, obviously to be the number one guest on your show, that's a lot of pressure on me. So I probably should put that in my Twitter bio. I think maybe you get some points there. But obviously we moved along from Tampa Bay Lightning, which is obviously hockey, and going into the world of National Football League, and obviously you step up a little bit of scale in terms of the prominence of the sport and everything we're going on in National Football League. But hockey was a great start for to really being part of social media, because you had to work harder, and you were able to do a lot of innovative things and a lot of fun things that really kind of break through the clutter. And that was the collaboration in the National Hockey League among teams, and even within the organization was like, hey, what can we do? What can we do to kind of break through the clutter here? Where the NFL is a little more polished and a little more stable. So obviously, I think in that regard, it's been a change and adjustment, but it's something that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, I think, again, the focus from an NHL point of view, because it's effectively in that challenger brand from a market and its positioning in the pro sports scene, digital had to be used to find new fans and reach their fans, because they didn't have the strong TV penetration that obviously the NFL does. I guess one of the things I would be interested in is getting used to the cadence. I mean, because you have so many games in an NHL season, similar to the NBA, and not as many games as the MLB. But then you go from that to the almost event programming that every NFL game is a massive game because there's so few of them. How do you manage that from a digital media team point of view?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because in the hockey world, if you lose a game, it's like, okay, we got another game in a couple days, and you kind of get over that. Whereas in the NFL, you've got a whole week to kind of you have to let fans go through kind of a mourning process almost at some point. It's like, hey, if you don't lose a game, it's like losing seven straight games in Major League Baseball, or maybe lose 3 or 4 straight games in hockey, and you go through that time period, and there's a big difference. And so I think the strategy is you really have to come in knowing what levers to pull when you win, and knowing, you got to maximize that opportunity. I think likewise, when you lose, you got to know what levers to pull, and you got to know when to pull them and be very, very considerate of your audience, and knowing that they've lost that game too. And the great thing about Kansas City is I know you've been here before, Sean. I think it's just a passionate fan base. Whether it's Royals or Sporting KC or whatever, University of Kansas basketball or Zoo football, it is a passionate fan base, and they love their teams. And when you lose a game, they feel it, and they'll let you know they feel it. But I think that's good. I think that's what you want to be a part of. Why you want to be a part of sports is really, play to that passion level they have. So, again, we try to be very strategic in terms of knowing what to do when we lose or when we don't lose, or, when we do win. So we try to balance those out things very carefully.
And do you think, I think one of the things that's not unique, but when you've got that week-to-week sport, and the NFL fits in that, where it's whether you're playing on a Thursday or a Saturday or a Sunday or a Monday, you've got that breathing space from week to week, whether it be a 5 or a 6 day break, that lends itself to more, I guess, longer form content. Let that content breathe. You can do video series. You can do different pieces of content that you can't do when you've got, game, day off, another game, because you're constantly in game mode in those kind of sports. Is there stuff in that space in that during the week when there's not, game footage? Because game is the peak of your week as far as content and engagement, but you've got this breathing space that allows you to experiment a little bit in different types of content.
Yeah, it does. I think it depends on your team performance to some degree, but I think obviously the week is so structured that, you look at an NFL schedule. Monday, if you win the game, you're in celebration mode on Monday, and fans are going to celebrate with you. Tuesday kind of becomes the off day, and that's where a lot of the players will do their community events. So we are actively involved with telling those stories, telling what goes on beyond the fields and the impact that we're having on a community, and just some of the neat things that our players and coaches and front office are doing to make a difference in the Kansas City area. So we're always happy to tell those stories. And then Wednesday's beginning of the football week when you start practicing. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, travel day, Saturday. But you are able to kind of look at that week and say, okay, what are we building up to? And when you have a home game coming up, you may try to do some things to really create the excitement around that game because it doesn't create engagement. Whereas if you go on the road, maybe it's not about the matchup or really talking about what's happening on the football field, and it just kind of builds and builds and builds, and then you get that Sunday morning where you do have that game, and it's just excitement, and people are ready to let loose.
You were talking there about engagement and the different types of content in there. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the things you've been doing from a tactical level for the people who are still on the tools and pushing different content out on different platforms? Have you been testing what type of graphics are working, how it's working on the different platforms as you're going through the season?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and I'll do a little bragging to my team, my digital team here, and our video team, and our graphics team. Is that our overarching strategy? And there's a lot of different strategies when it comes to social media and businesses or in sports. So, but our strategy is to unlock engagement. Yep. That's the most important thing because we want people to see our content.
Yep.
If without engagement, people aren't going to see your content unless you're paying for it. And we're very active in the paid social space to promote a number of different initiatives, but for the most part, we want to be the best in engagement, and we have been that in the NFL. We ranked number one in Facebook engagement this season. We're number one last year. We're at the midway point of this year. We did a study. We were number 4 on Instagram and engagement rate, and number 4 on Twitter, number 8 on Instagram, and we were only one of 6 NFL teams to be in top 3 categories. So we look at that very carefully. But if you look at that solely, then you're missing the point a little bit because it really comes down to some of the deeper metrics like engagements per fans and shares per fan and video views per fans, and that really tells a richer and deeper story when it comes to, are you really driving engagement? Is your content compelling?
Yep.
And we're top 10 and top 5 in all those areas. So very important for us to utilize the platforms to drive that organic reach, especially in the world we're living in now where it seems like organic reach is slipping away like sand through our fingertips.
Yep. So from a individual pieces, is there particular, are you always testing different types like square images or images that have that little bit of flair, so they're movie like the graphics that have a little bit of turn, so they're a movie, so they're working well on Facebook, but they also catch the eye to stop people? Are there particular things that you're doing that you're saying, oh, they're working, and then monitoring, like what I'd be interested in, I think probably listeners are as well, is what stats are you looking for to say, oh yes, that did work, we're going to try it again and try to double down on it, or then try it on a different platform? How does that sort of process work for you guys?
Yeah, so I think we'll start with video. Just one of the things we learned was, now the NFL has, sort of guidelines around video usage and what we can do from platforms. So Twitter, we can utilize the highlights within Snap to Whistle, within Snappy TV, whereas we took a different approach with Facebook. But I think what we found out when we were telling a story, if we put video highlights within that first 3 seconds of the video, that captured attention, and our engagement rate increased dramatically as a result of that.
Yep.
Got people to watch the video, got to engage longer, and they watch the video for longer.
Yep.
And whether it's a sit-down interview or whatever it might be with the player or coach, just mixing that in the first, it was a very strategic move, and something we tried, and we kind of really analyzed it and said, hey, that was something that really resounded. And we also did, it's been a shift too. So we talked about, we've been on the show since 2013, whereas, where it is in 2017, video has taken a lot of big changes in social space, obviously in that time frame, and kind of where videos have grown. I was trying to think back 2013. I don't know if even Facebook allowed video at that point in time. I could be wrong, but
no, it was still in its infancy.
And you think about it, that was 4 years ago, and that's really not that long. Like it's changed dramatically. So we see obviously video views. We were views per fan. We're number 4 overall in all the NFL, and that's pretty significant. So we have a really great team here who just does some phenomenal storytelling in our video production unit. They win a lot of Emmys every year, and we do television shows. But what we shifted it was, instead of building stuff for broadcast, then putting that on digital, we shifted it where the best stuff was being developed for digital, and then we may put that on broadcast, and that made a big difference as well. Yeah,
I mean that is a focus. I think the thing is, there you were saying that first 10 seconds is so important. We all know that Facebook. If we're looking at Facebook counts a view in 3 seconds. But what I'm seeing is more advertisers and brand people asking what the 10-second view is. And if you're looking at you really should be diving in to look at what's the average view time, and it is really important what that first 10 seconds is. Will actually extend it, because if it's that warm up and people, you've got to stop the thumb. You've just got to stop it to get it there. So yeah, I think it's really important. And for mine, when talking to the video creators, is to get them into the mentality of diving into those stats, whether it's looking at the individual video stats to see how it's played out. And then the other part is looking at the differences of the audience demographics of who has watched. What does the audience demographic look like that watched 10 seconds? What's the audience demographic look like that watched 95%? Because that's really important, because if they're just doing a certain video for a certain audience all the time, it's really hard to get that real, breadth of audience and depth of audience, which you want with your video.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just been one of those challenges when you have video and you have so much video out there. How do you break through the clutter on the timelines and kind of resonate from that perspective? And it's something we're very strategic and very surgical about in a lot of ways, to say, who's this going to reach? How are they going to interact with this? And what's the payoff for them for watching this video? And if you take those mindset, that really does help drive your engagement level, because I think that's crucial for us. The other thing, to answer your question a little bit too, is one of the things that we found a lot of success with is vertical photos, and especially on Instagram and Facebook. We did a study. We have one of our analysts look at it here and say, what's performing better, square, vertical, or the horizontal shots? We looked at it, both on both Instagram and Facebook, and we saw a resounding higher level engagements, impressions, reach, all because of the vertical photos. And we said, okay, let's do more of that. So that's something that's been very crucial for us. We even took a deeper dive into what is our engagement rate by content type on Facebook. Yep. We looked at what's our video content performing like, and then what's our photo and graphic content. And what we found surprisingly was that the photo and graphical content was actually twice as high number of engagements as the videos. So okay, so that's a pretty easy one. Let's do more of that, and then obviously let's put more vertical photos up.
And the good thing about that, I mean, I think what photos still lend it to, and they've always lend themselves to, is the sharing, which is where you get the automatic, you get the organic reach. So if it's that vertical video, one, it's terrific because people can save it. It could be the wallpaper for the weekend. It's a show of pride. So, and it does that full screen takeover. So as people are scrolling through, and I think part of the reason this is, I'm always trying to look at where, to go back to hockey, where the puck is moving. If we're using that way, that quote, looking where Facebook is trying to go. When we see it's looking at Facebook stories, bringing the Instagram stories into the Facebook space, then that makes sense that would like to see more vertical videos, because that's what that platform likes. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me, but the thing is, you always got to dive into the stats and see what works.
Yeah, definitely. I think, Sean, you always amaze me with your level of sports knowledge across all sports that you cover is amazing. So I'm gonna give you credit for that. And,
the Gretzky quote has been used in a fair few presentations, so I won't tell. I think it's pretty well known, but thank you very much. So what I wanted to do is go on to move on from organic, because you did say there's some work that you've done in the paid space. I want to talk to you about the new ticketing program around Bud Light Game Day Pass, and tell us a little bit more about it as a product, and then how your team's helped push it out.
Yeah, it really became a new product that we wanted to try this year, and the New York Jets tried something similar as well. We were the only two NFL teams that really tried this and kind of roll something out like this. We saw kind of movement of the millennial tickets across Major League Baseball and other platforms. And what we were trying to do was try to introduce a product that was digital only, that resonated with a different audience. And so we introduced the Bud Light Game Day Pass, which was basically a $200 season ticket for all 10 events that we have. And it was a digital only product that you could then sit with your friends and come to a game, where it may not be the closest seats to the field, but still getting you there and getting you be a part of the experience. And when the team came to me and said, "Hey, we want to sell this," I said, "Hey guys, we got to do this through Facebook's lead generation tool." It just seems like that's a powerful platform which to do that, and we really were able to drive a lot of engagement around that. So it really accomplished a lot of different things. So one was getting people, using the Facebook in that way to get that form, which is so easy for somebody to fill out and click. It really takes about 2 clicks. One to say, yeah, I'm interested. Yes, this is my information, confirm it, and then hit submit. And basically then we have that information and we can call them directly, especially on a product like this where you can't necessarily go buy it directly through Ticketmaster or through your ticket program. So, but I think what we found was that the level of leads that we got, if our team would score them, they were scoring very, very high. But it also got them in our database and they didn't score high. So we saw a number of people we never knew existed out there in the marketplace to put in our CRM systems and put into our databases that we could use for future follow-ups. But the overall resounding success of the program was that we sold a lot of the tickets out very quickly. It was such a in-demand product that really helped us move a number of different tickets in a new way into a new audience. And obviously, you're touching upon a couple different business objectives when you're able to partner with Bud Light to be a part of that. Because obviously their campaign this year is about friends, and just was a natural fit to talk about, hey, this is the kind of ticket you want to buy with your friends and come to the games with your friends. But also that mobile part of it. We're very intentional about doing more and more mobile ticketing and increasing that base that comes to the game and uses their mobile device to enter the game, get that barcode. And in fact, you can sit with your friends, have a great seat, enjoy the experience of Arrowhead Stadium. It was such a natural product, and it just resounded so dramatically that we even rolled it out for Monday Night Football when we played the Washington Redskins as a single game ticket. So we took the same concept and said, hey, for college students or young millennials, let's target to them in this ticket product. And again, we just had resounding success with that as another sponsored program with Charlie Hustle, which is a local T-shirt maker here in the area. It really reaches an audience, and it's really a long-term play there as well. Is that when you start getting people into the stadium on a regular basis, there's an appetite to come back again and be a part of it. So the bit that I was interested in is, like, as I played around with the lead gen stuff recently, and again, so the lead gen is effectively pops up a capture form. You can ask email, mobile number, those kind of things, and it all stays in Facebook. And when it first came out, the first type of iteration I ran with it was quite expensive as compared to sending people to like a dedicated landing page. Again, relatively simple, similar form. But obviously Facebook has obviously refined it a little bit. And the other thing I think is people are getting used to filling out those forms, and it's not so foreign. How much? My interest would have been, how much was it call to interest, enter your details, as opposed to pretty much telling them, hey, this is what because you're not making the sale, you're just capturing the data, and then your sales team were following up. Did you do any testing around sending people to hey, here's the button, give your credit card, hit the button, and make the sale without even the sales team getting involved? Do you think there's appetite potentially for that, or is it still because it's a new product, you still want to go through, I guess, your current sales model? Yeah, I think there's different products for different platforms. So we've seen a lot of success too, and we get tremendous return on ad spend when we do Facebook Facebook marketing between anywhere from 12 to 30% or return on investment there easily. And so obviously that supports us, and we've shifted a lot of our marketing dollars to that. Obviously, our single game ticket purchases, yes, we direct them right straight to Ticketmaster, and they can purchase their tickets through that. They can even do that to season tickets to some degree. This product in particular wasn't made available through that because of the way that the tickets were generated. You really couldn't go pick a seat in Ticketmaster and then say, well, give me this. It was really about, because you're assigned a seat on the day of the game. So that's kind of how it works a little differently. But we've seen it work in multiple different ways, though. So we're always pulling those triggers. Is it a direct sale? Is it a lead generation kind of mentality? So, and obviously we also tried, Twitter too, and tried to drive them to a landing page where they may get more information about the program before they fill out a form there as well. So I think we're trying to be very educational about what the program is, so they knew what they were getting into. But still, once we got them into that sales funnel, obviously it resonated because we were able to convert the sales in that part.
I think one of the things that's interesting also is, so Facebook, for those who haven't jumped into the lead gen ads, they are relatively simple. It's you're putting a banner up, you're saying what the product is, enter your details, we'll be in touch. You might then send them to a landing page post signing up. The Canvas ads, which are more fully fledged, like full-on landing pages inside Facebook, they have not yet tied that lead gen capability to Facebook Canvas ads, which from what I think I've read the material, might be wrong. I might be just might be wishing things. I might have to check in with Jacob at Facebook. I did hear, and I think I'm correct in saying that they're going to merge those two products, so you can have a full immersive, hey, here's some highlight videos, this is what the experience is, click the button, that is then connected to a lead gen form. And I think that would be an awesome experience, because then, you've got Bud Light, you could have it all branded up, you could tell the whole story, and it would, the leads that you would be passing on to your sales team would be even higher, because people would go, yes, I'm in. I want, call me now. I want to buy this product. So I do hope they do mash up those two products, because I looked at the Canvas ads, and the Canvas ads look great, but effectively they're a fancy landing page that you have to then send someone to somewhere else. So I think if they can mash those two products together, it would really work for products like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the appealing part to me is really driving the emotion of the buy.
Yeah.
So when you talk about the triggers you want to utilize, and that gives you that much more opportunity to really show off what the product is and what you can do with it, and kind of helps. One thing that we always try to do is try to help or try to nudge our potential buyers in a direction of visualizing yourself as a part of Arrowhead Stadium, because Arrowhead Stadium is just a very unique place, and it's one of the few, I'd say, probably the few historic, a handful of historic NFL stadiums, and just the college atmosphere here is just incredible. From tailgating to, we have the world's record for the loudest stadium in the world, and 142.2 decibels of crowd noise coming from the stands here. It's just an incredible experience that you want to be a part of. And I know a lot of people around the country say, "Hey, this is one trip. I make a couple of trips a year, but I want to get to Arrowhead, or I've been to Arrowhead." It's my bucket list items is. So obviously, we're trying to play that experience up as much as possible. And I think that what you're talking about, describing, would be a great way to drive that emotion of wanting to be here and be a part of what goes on game day here.
And for me, and I do joke at times and call myself a digital divorce counselor, working between the digital teams and the commercial teams and the ticketing teams, and try to get everyone working on the same page. What I love about what you're talking about is, that the business objective is to get this different audience to the games. There's a product going to be there. It's a ticketing product. But you're also looking to tailor that story and that message in the content that you're doing organically. So when you're running out this campaign, it's not there. It doesn't jar. It's not out of sync. It doesn't look out of place, because you've been telling that story of, you've got to come to Arrowhead. This is where you're going. We're going to push video out to make sure you consume it, so you're going to have a warm audience that's going to like these products. And I think it's one of the reasons you've got to be connected with the other parts of your business. Otherwise, your digital and the business offerings are just too disjointed for the fan. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. And I love how you said that and articulated that, because that is so important, is to be very cohesive in everything you're doing. And I think that goes beyond the even sometimes the graphics, but just the overall tone and the copy and the brand how that's resonating through everything you're doing. So we talk a lot about that intentionally as a group, is what is our messaging? How do we best message? What's the triggers we want to pull on? We use this term a lot. What do we own as the Kansas City Chiefs? How are we different than everybody else? It's kind of how Brandon would approach it. Whether it be, like so they used Bud Light earlier, they're saying, well, we own friendships. So that's what we want to be. And I think that's what we try to look at is what do we own as the Kansas City Chiefs? We own crowd noise. We own the tailgating experience. We own a historic stadium. We own a passionate fan base. Let's play those triggers up as much as we possibly can, but also at the same time, let's stay true to what our brand entails and what's going on on the field with the team as well.
Yep. I want to talk a little bit about innovation. Everyone's, the NFL and I guess all pro sports, I guess now around the world, are all pushing each other to say what's next, how else can we best engage our fans. One of those areas is AR, augmented reality, and how you can use it and how you can, give the brands that little bit of a wow experience. Tell us a little bit about what you guys have done with Coca-Cola recently.
Yeah, that was a fun campaign, and it was just so exciting how it all came together. And Coca-Cola was introducing a new 16-ounce can into the marketplace that had the Chiefs logo on it. It's the first time it's ever happened.
Yep.
And Coca-Cola is also our longest-running sponsor. They're the only beverage ever to be poured, or soft drink beverage ever be poured in Arrowhead Stadium. So when they came with the concept, we were like, hey, this is perfect on multiple levels. So we were able to create an augmented reality experience based upon that can. So what the user experience was you had to go buy the can.
Yep.
You took the Chiefs app and you open the app up with that can, and then a can displayed to you basically a contest. It was immersive video showing some of the most refreshing highlights in the history of our team.
Yep. And
those highlights were embedded in those video highlights. It kind of came up with a little scoreboard above the can. You could move the can back and forward to either fast forward it or to rewind it. But inside that video was a code. We embedded in the video, and that code you go into our loyalty program, which is called Chiefs Kenny Rewards.
Yep.
And so we were capturing their data and gamifying the experience, and they enter the code into that experience. And then if you were able to collect all 6 different video codes, you could enter for a chance to win a trip to see us play in Dallas. So it was just a kind of bringing a lot of business objectives together in terms of growing our database and through a loyalty program, getting more people into our mobile app, and then obviously the sponsor tie-in. And just from all angles, it was just a very successful program. And we know that Coke was able to drive a lot of sales as a result of it and create a lot of awareness for that can in the marketplace. But it also just really was helpful for us to tie those things as a unique innovation and something that's a little different than I think some of the other teams have approached with augmented reality, meaning that I wanted to have something that was not just done once. You say, oh, this is cool, and you walk away from it. But how do you get them to come back and participate on a regular basis in this, to see what's new and see what's different about this experience?
Yeah, so the thing I like about it, and I will get you to sort of break down, I guess, from a technical point of view, a bit of your back end. So your mobile app, what's your mobile app built on, and the AR that was all integrated into your app?
It's actually we worked with Yinscam on it. So Yinscam, I know you had Priya as one of your guests on the program here too. So we approached them with it and said, hey, this is what we have in mind. And she has a unit inside of her company that is trying to build augmented reality experiences.
Yep.
So we were able to work with her, and they built it within the mobile app experience natively. So it was a very smooth transition, and it just worked very well because it was all integrated and how we outperformed it. So I think the hardest part was we had to wait to get the cans so they could map the experience to the can itself. So
I mean. So I think there was 2 parts to it. There was one, getting people to use your app, which is one of your objectives at all times. And so you can be producing all these, the content, but you don't get to decide where your fans are consuming your content. Some are just consuming social, some are looking on the web, some are using the app. So a campaign like this gets people into your app, makes it another use case for them wanting to use it. If it draws in new people to try this, then they realize, oh, I can get all my video. So it deepens your app relationship with fans. And then the other piece is the loyalty play that you guys have run. I've had Dave Jolene on the podcast previously, with the loyalty play, and loyalty is one that you've got to continually find ways to engage and bring people in and reward and tell people to be in the to sort of play along with the loyalty product. A good loyalty product just happens, and scores points on all your activities. But every now and again, you want to flag to your fans, hey guys, this is why you're doing it. This is some of the opportunities in the rewards program. So to tie those two objectives of app and loyalty engagement, I thought was a really good way to tick a few boxes with the one campaign.
Yeah, and our visits are up 93% over where they were last year. So obviously that kind of just tells you that once you get them into the app and using the app, there's a lot of studies out there that show that if you can get people to use the app, once or twice, they're going to continue to come back. And we have seen that. And that's a big part of this program, was just make sure they use the app on a regular basis and use it for different functionality. One thing we really discovered what's inside there. I think it's interesting too, because I think if you look at, we're back to 2003 or 2013 again, where, what's one of the biggest shifts in the industry is about mobile web browsing habits. Yep. And in 2013, you may say, well, I'm going to build a really good desktop landing page and people are going to come to my site and discover content, where in the last 4 years, they don't do that anymore. They don't come to your homepage and discover content. But I do think they do that on a mobile app. They'll come there and discover content just because they don't do it in desktops anymore. They might try it on a mobile app.
Yeah, and it is a matter of just getting them into the app, seeing that all of the things that they want are now in the app. Again, 4 or 5 years ago, that not all the pieces would have been there. And also you would have had an audience that was preferring to watch clips on a desktop, whereas now the screens are bigger, they're brighter. People are more happy to, more than happy to watch highlights, in some cases full game replays on a mobile device. And so as more of that content is there and is easily accessible, the app usage is and should continue to grow. The other piece that I wanted to ask, that's a bit of a buzzy term, is OTT, over the top, and where that fits for both. It's something that leagues are looking at, but more and more teams are now looking at. You've now deployed your own Chiefs Apple TV channel. Take us through what that process was like and what you had to sort of do to sort of plan that out and say, well, this is a platform we want to do.
Yeah, I think from day one, I arrived in Kansas City. Again, I talked about references earlier. Our video production unit just creates amazing content on a weekly basis, and we have programming built for 52 weeks of the year on local television stations, and they do some of the best storytelling. And it's influenced from NFL films and kind of that kind of quality and that kind of level of storytelling, and they just carried on. So my challenge, when I looked at it, was like, this is great content. How do I distribute to a wider audience? And I don't think the website was a great experience. I don't think mobile apps are a great experience. But how do we do this? And obviously, the best function, as emerging technologies are growing, is, hey, a connected TV device makes a lot of sense to put this on here, because that show is locked to a late Saturday night or late Sunday night time slot where you may not catch it then. But we can make it, so that people can access it anytime they want it on their schedules. I think that's the real benefit for us, is to get that content out to a wider audience, and not only see it just within a local market, but see it across the country or anywhere that, obviously you can dial that up. So that was really, what was in crucial. And as a league kind of took approach of, hey, let's open the door for this because we think there's a lot of possibilities here. It really kind of opens the discussion around, are you a media company or are you a sports brand? And yep. I think that, because we dabble in both, and we are both, we can tell some really rich and engaging stories. And if we can get that in front of more people, that's a win for us. So obviously, I think the next step for us is monetization. But again, this is something we work with the InScam on, and it made a lot of sense because we launched on Apple TV, and they've already built an Apple TV or Apple iOS device for us. So, and obviously, we'll look for expansion upon other devices, as we go forward here and kind of get some learnings from it. But overall, I think things have been a huge success because it does give us that great distribution of our video content.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, Apple TV is a distribution platform. I mean, to launch an Apple TV channel, you've just got to have a lot of content. So, like you said, we are seeing almost the doubling down on video probably every year since about 2012, 2013. And, the content that's being produced by teams is getting more and more and of high quality and of longer length, whether it's, it's a 6-minute or 7-minute documentary. Now they're 12 minutes. There's, more longer form stuff that fits better into this space. And so I do think that, it's a be where the fans are, the fish where the fish are type of mentality. And, whether it's Apple TV or maybe Amazon Prime or, whatever Google's pushing in the YouTube space with Chromecast, those kind of things, I think it's a matter of just where can we put our content to reach the audience and where they are, where they want to consume it. So I think that's important, and then it's going to be what is the next model? What is the next model? Will fans just be able to say, I want to buy, I want to monetize, I want to be a subscriber to Chiefs TV, and that may down the track actually include Chiefs games. You just don't know where that structure of that deal may go. Obviously, the league will obviously maintain those rights, but if it makes sense for them to be able to sublease or give the clubs the rights to monetize their own games, it may become another revenue stream for both the club and the league overall. So I think that's why I'm seeing a couple of NFL teams do it. There's a few NBA teams looking at the same sort of space. What does their OTT product? And the other thing is it does open up that international audience. It becomes become a global play because gone are the days of only 200-mile radius of Kansas City. That's where Chiefs fans are. Chiefs fans can be anywhere in the world now that the internet opens up. It gives you some real growth opportunities globally.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing, you've been in the sports industry long enough, and I've been in it long enough too, where you're not always working for the Kansas City Chiefs or an NFL team to have the resources available. You're working for that team that you're struggling to get. You're struggling to sell tickets on a nightly basis, but you're also struggling to get any kind of prominence in the local media or even on television. I think connected TV is almost like it creates like this democracy of content that. Yep. If you're a minor league, let's say a minor league hockey team, and you have international players on your team, where are they going to watch them play? Yeah. And that's connected TV would be a great opportunity for a lot of sports organizations to, where your objectives are, to really help meet some of those objectives and really consume content in a different way.
And especially as we're coming to this, on demand, if the only TV you're watching is on demand, if you're just watching Netflix when you want to watch Netflix, or you're just watching HBO when you want to watch it, then why wouldn't sport be any different? And I want to now catch up with my team. For some people, that is, I'm going to pick up the app and I'm going to look at it in the app. But for other people, it's like I'm flicking through. Well, there's nothing to watch. Oh, hang on, there is. I can watch this short reality show or this clip or those kind of things. I think that's definitely a big opportunity for the sports teams overall.
Absolutely. I think it's a huge opportunity for a lot of organizations that, we think about big scale, but you think about smaller scale, colleges or universities or, different teams where you have a little different product. Just having that ability to stream your own content would be, and put it over a top device. That could be powerful for them.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I want to, first of all, thank you again for coming back. When I first did the podcast, I didn't have the closing five. It's something that I've sort of introduced recently. So I want to go through the Sports Geek closing five. Do you remember the first sports event you ever attended, James?
I do. It was a Detroit Tigers baseball game. And the San Diego Chicken was there. That was the promotion for the night. He packed the place. I remember Ricky Henderson, who was one of my favorite players, even though he played for the opposing team, stole 2 bases. Threw the ball in center field both times, got the third, scored 2 runs. And then the catcher who actually made the 2 errors hit a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th to win the game. So I remember a lot of those details about that game.
So that was in Detroit?
That was in Detroit, yeah. And that was actually, as you actually asked that question too, I should probably, can I give kind of a bonus answer?
Oh, of course you can.
The first NFL football game I ever went to was at the Pontiac Silverdome between the Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers. And the news earlier this week was that they tried to blow up the Silverdome, and it took a couple times to actually get it right.
It did, yeah. So if you did not miss it, one, there was no bus that blocked the view, the MARTA bus that blocked the view of what was the stadium that it blocked? The Atlanta?
That was the Dome.
The Georgia Dome. But yeah, they tried to just, I think the headline in the Detroit Free Press is the Silverdome's seen a lot of implosions, but not today. They tried to blow it up and it just didn't happen. So yeah, quite funny. You would have been to a fair few sports events in your time. Is there a favourite food memory, or do you have a go-to food that you have when you go to a sports event?
It's there's a lot of different options there to go after. I think one of my favorite was this jalapeno garlic pretzel bread was in Ford Field. I love that. That was amazing. The other cool one was always being in Detroit, working for the Lions. You played on Thanksgiving Day, and it was just kind of fun to go in the press box and have a Thanksgiving Day meal with all your favorite beat writers and TV personalities.
It's different Thanksgiving. People aren't asleep, and there's probably less arguments, but it'd be fun all the same. What's the first app that you open in the morning?
First app, I usually check the weather app to see what the weather is for the day.
The weather app, very good. And is there someone that the podcast listeners should follow, that you follow and admire, and why?
I think recently, I call this my money ball when it comes to engagement, is I'm really trying to understand the behavioral sciences and how we apply those to marketing.
Yep.
And there's a lot of research out there that talks about this. And there's probably 4 people I think are just fascinating, doing some great studies in there. Jason Herrera, who works at Walmart, and his counterpart, Orwawi. I'm gonna butcher these names up, but
yep.
And then Natalie Nahai, she is a web psychologist based out of London.
Yep.
And Roger Dooley, who is he runs the Blamefluence blog, and just interesting to see, what you can do with a small amount of changes that really can make a big impact. And that goes into a lot of what we're doing here, is trying to really understand, when we talk about engagement, talk about even the marketing side of things, what are those things that we should be playing on that really helps drive, sales? And if you can get from, in Walmart's case, if you go from 2% to 3%, that's
yep.
billions of dollars. And I think that's, to learn from them is just a fascinating opportunity.
Well, I'll get you to email me those, and I will put links to those people in the show notes, because I'm the same. If you can find people that are doing interesting things, and especially when they're sort of outside your field, and how can you, like you just said, if Walmart makes a slight change and makes a big win, then how can you apply that slight change to your market? What does it mean for you? What does it mean for your fans? And you may as well leverage other people's learnings, or as I say, steal with pride. If they're doing it and it's working well, make it your own and twist it for your own fans. Lastly, what social media platform is your MVP? And you can answer this both from a Kansas City Chiefs point of view and from a personal point of view if you want.
I think from a Kansas City Chiefs, the impact of Facebook over every platform is still tremendously high. And so obviously that's important to us, both from the paid perspective and also the engagement perspective. I think personally, I like to go into Instagram. Yep. I think I just enjoy the user experience. I enjoy seeing the diversity of content that comes through. And I'm an avid woodworker, so I'm always getting ideas and, like, oh, that looks really cool, or I'm getting, tips and techniques from different places. And obviously just seeing what the creativity allows you, a little more creativity and artistic manner to which to display your content that other platforms allow, which I really like. And I like to see that come to life. And I'd love to see other teams, what they're doing, and to say, hey, that's really cool. And it may not work for us because that's not a part of our brand, but
yep.
It's just cool how to see that kind of how that lines up.
It is. I mean, I do get that answer a lot in the same people. Facebook, it's killing it. It's great for us. It's great for us on a team side. And then I hear a lot of people say, personally, I go to Instagram for that creativity, the point of difference, a little bit of, I can switch off a little bit and just take in, the beauty or the prettiness or the inspiration that's in that feed. And I always take my takeaway from that is you have to then apply that strategy for what the content that you're putting on that platform to try to match that feel of what people are looking for on that platform. And it sort of goes to the heart of what I say, don't put the same bit of content on all the platforms, the way that you feel about the platform should be the style of content that you put forward.
Yeah, I think one thing I could always recommend too is engage your team. And I have a great team here, and they do great work, but we are constantly sharing content.
Yep.
And we have a Slack channel that's dedicated just to cool things we see, and we're always sharing it back and forth and looking at what, hey, I like this about it, or hey, I don't like this about it, but we're always collaborating in that regard. And Facebook and Instagram posts seem to be very high on that list, how we do that.
Terrific. So lastly, how can people connect with you and find you on the internet? This is the place where you tell everyone your handles and how to get connected with you.
I'm at James Royer on Instagram and Twitter, and then James Royer on LinkedIn.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. We won't make it 170 odd episodes in between our next conversations, and hopefully I'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks for having me again. Great talking to you.
Want to start driving more revenue from digital? Go to sportsgeekcampaigns.com.
Thanks again to James Royer. You can send him a tweet at James Royer. Ask him anything about what we discussed. I will put some links in the show notes. I did like the AR Coke can with the highlights, with the twisting of the can to turn to fast forward and rewind. So check that out, please, and please connect with him on LinkedIn and ask him anything about what they're doing. That's the whole idea of what I try to do here at Sports Geek, is to connect the community either via the podcasts, via our newsletter, Sports Geek News, which you can sign up for at sportsgeekhq.com, or the Sports Biz Slack. And one of the good things about me doing this podcast is meeting people who either listen and also meeting people who I get to talk with, have interesting conversations like I did with James. So this is where I'll take the indulgence of saying that I will be on the move over the Christmas New Year period. I'm actually heading to Europe. I'm going to be spending New Year's Eve in Paris. Going to get to Paris on December 27. I'm going to be in Paris for a couple of days till about January 6, and then head up to Belgium on the 6th to the 9th. Then up to Amsterdam from the 9th to the 12th, then catching up with my good friend Jesper, who's been on the podcast before, in Copenhagen from January 12 to 17. So I'll put those notes in the show notes. But as always, if you're in that part of the world and you're a listener and you work in sport, or you don't work in sport, or you work on brand side or sponsorship side, I'm more than happy to take meetings. I'm hoping to connect with a few people and potentially record some podcasts while I'm away. If you've got an interesting story, or you know someone who's got an interesting story and you'd like me to meet them, I'm happy to meet up, catch up with people, do some interviews. If there's opportunity to do some work, if you would like your digital reviewed, or you'd like me to talk to your team about the latest trends, I'm more than happy to do some workshops or speaking opportunities while I'm over there. Please get in touch. You can either do it the old-fashioned way, Sean at sportsgeekhq.com, will get me via email, or, as I've said previously, at Sean Callanan on all platforms, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, and the like. Send me an email, reach out. I really do appreciate it, and it has happened over the last couple of weeks where I've had listeners reach out asking for help. Sometimes it forms itself in a little bit of advice. Sometimes it forms itself in a project or a workshop, helping them to achieve their goals. And as I've said, when I'm not podcasting like I'm doing now, I'm normally helping digital teams around their content and auditing what they're doing to make sure they're hitting up the right audiences, and seeing if there's any more value can be driven for sponsors, and that would be driving revenue, or reviewing things like that, what you're doing from a platform to platform point of view. Had a really interesting discussion catching up with the guys from Snap on both what they're doing in the ad product space and where they're seeing a lot of the usage. So if you're looking at how can you better use Snap and how you could potentially integrate what their advertising product is with your sponsors, happy to talk about that. a lot of the work we've been doing this year, it's been a real focus, has been helping teams and leagues better understand the value of the content they're producing. So developing rate cards, reviewing those rate cards, setting those prices so your commercial team can go out to market. And then I'm always doing the campaign advice or executing campaigns around data acquisition, whether it's driving leads, ticketing campaigns. You've heard the term cheeks on the seats. It's something I love doing and love driving. And then the other part of it is doing some projects like developing chatbots. And so there will be one. We've built one recently that's going to go out just around Christmas with the International Ice Hockey Federation. So please, if you would like, they're based out of Switzerland, but they've got the World Juniors that are happening in Buffalo, New York. So we've developed the chatbot there that will help direct people from a traffic point of view for tickets to the games, understand more about the venues, understand the teams. There's a few little quirky things around history. So yeah, if you'd like to discuss at least a chatbot strategy, again, we've built that with the Tradable Bits backend. It's been really good. So again, the offer goes. I know everyone's going into potentially going into holiday period, Christmas. So this is the last episode for the year, and very proud of the year that we've had at Sports Geek, and also what we've done with the podcast. We've hit 47 episodes this year, which is a PB, personal best, and we've gone past 186 guests, and we're closing in on 250,000 downloads all time. So very much appreciate your listenership. I appreciate my team, Meg and Jolie, that help get the show notes out, coordinate the interviews, and the like. Very much appreciate that. They make sure that that's one of the reasons we've got 47 episodes, as opposed to a few weeks off here and there that we've done previously. But very proud to get to episode 177 and effectively go full circle with our guest today of James Royer. So have a terrific Christmas. Stay tuned. This is the last ep for the year. But what we did last year was we did the Sports Geek replay series. So post-Christmas, your podcast feed will have a daily update from Sports Geek with some of the best episodes from this year. So if you are in that, switch off, traveling, trying to just rest and recuperate and recharge for the year, we will put, I think, about 10 or 12 episodes in your feed. And the reason I put them in the feed, they're real bloody good. And they're the ones that we've got the most feedback on, and the most positive feedback on, and the most insights, and they're the conversations I love to have. There's plenty to go back from, and it was hard to pick. But yeah, you will get those in your feed. So if you haven't listened to them, there's your prompt to listen to them. I actually think they're worth listening again. So keep an eye on your podcast feed, whether that's in Pocket Casts, whether it's in Google Play, whether it's in iTunes. As always, please reach out either via email, or if you just want to book a phone call, just go to sportsgeekhq.com/phone call, and you'll find a slot there. And I'm more than happy to talk to listeners and help solve their problems. That's what Sports Geek's here for. Until next year, my name is Sean Callanan, and you've been listening to Sports Geek.
Join over 1,000 sports business executives in Sports Biz Slack. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/Slack. Please share your fave episodes of Sports Geek on LinkedIn. Be sure to tag Sean Callanan.
Go to sportsgeekhq.com for more sports digital marketing resources.
Want to chat with Sean? Book a time for a call. Go to sportsgeekhq.com/phone call.